The school day passed uneventfully, and once it was over, it was time for me to make good on my decision from this morning. I was so nervous all day that I couldn't focus in class, but at least the teacher didn't call on me. My feelings compelled me to leave the classroom as soon as the last class let out. However, I didn't head toward the empty classroom where I figured Misaki would be. I decided to take a detour and walk around the hallways in order to calm my nerves. I'm older than Misaki and she's a grade below me. We get along like Laurel and Hardy. That kind of relationship wasn't bad in itself, but I still yearn for something deeper than that. My heart is pounding. My anxiety from this morning had returned and reached its apex. Jeez, I hope I don't stutter or anything on her. I found myself rubbing my cheek to try and calm down, but I found the butterflies in my stomach kind of enjoyable.
何よ先輩、本当にバイオリンを聴きに来たのね。遅かったじゃない。
Taking a deep breath and opening the door, Misaki greeted me with her usual belligerent attitude. Despite her harsh words, her cheeks were red and the slightest hint of a smile played on her lips. If I'm intruding, I could leave.
邪魔だなんて言ってないでしょ。むしろ先輩が来るまでドキドキしながら待っててあげたんだからね。
Glad to hear it. Could have guessed it. For someone with such a tsundere disposition, Misaki really does go overboard with the tsun.
とにかくすぐに練習するから静かにしてるのよ。
Yes, ma'am.
返事が素直すぎてなんか気持ち悪いわね。先輩って意味もなくいたずらしそうだし。
I shook my head vigorously in denial. I definitely wouldn't get in her way, since she practices so diligently. But if she wasn't diligently practicing, you bet your ass I would. Misaki quietly arranged everything on her music stand as she prepared to start practicing, stealing glances at me all the while.
なんか本当に黙ったままでいられるとちょっと寂しくないかしら。
Is it okay for me to talk?
そうね。先輩がどうしてもって言うなら準備してる時くらい私と楽しくおしゃべりしてもいいの？
I thought it would be more interesting if I stayed quiet.
いつもみたいに無駄に話しなさい。
Some dumb crap, eh? I had decided to confess my feelings to her after her performance, but no other topic of conversation for the time being came to mind. Was there anything to talk about? Oh, I know. Why exactly did you take up the violin?
どうして？
I mean, it'd be one thing if your parents made you take lessons, but I wouldn't have guessed that you enjoyed it enough to not tell anyone else about it, let alone practice in secret.
そうね。好きよ。
Misaki quietly smiled, running her fingers along the case of her violin. Her smile immediately seized my heart in a way that no other smile had ever done before. I loved it, to coin a phrase.
もちろん好きって以外にも理由はあるけど。
Like it's a refined thing to enjoy?
まあそうね。
Misaki stuck her tongue out and gave me a cheeky smile. But that smile quickly disappeared as she heaved a heavy sigh. What's the matter?
好きなのよ。バイオリンが。だからこれだけは譲れないってくらいには上手くなりたいの。
Like I said yesterday, you're pretty skilled already.
一番になりたいのよ。私は一番星になりたいの。
Misaki suddenly raised her voice. Did she come down with something weird, or was she just getting worked up again? What do you mean, brighter than any other?
そのままよ。私は星になるの。
A shooting star?
流れちゃダメでしょ。
Hey, maybe you could call yourself the Scarlet Shooting Star or something. You'd sound like a really cool action hero.
バイオリン持って我慢してどうするのよ。
I saw an action movie once where a guitarist fired rockets out of his guitar case. What's wrong with that?
いつの間にか我慢の方がメインになってる。
Misaki stamped her foot in the usual way. Yeah, that's the stuff. Misaki had tears in the corners of her eyes as she pointed her finger at me.
そうじゃなくて、誰にでも誇れるものを手に入れたいのよ、私は。
Something you can be proud of, you say?
どうせ先輩には私の器用貧乏で万年2位とか3位、何事でもトップを取れない辛さがわからないんだわ。
Misaki leaned on her violin case as she complained. She made for an almost comical sight, but her eyes were very serious. Oh, I get it. Just like Miyu, Misaki is passionate about winning any sort of contest like that. Must be nice. I couldn't help but admire that aspect of her.
調子狂うわ。肩の力は抜けたけど。
Then, having finished her preparations, Misaki pulled out her violin and took a playing stance. She began to speak in tones. The atmosphere in the room became incredibly still, as if all that excitement a minute ago hadn't happened. I naturally directed my undivided attention toward Misaki's performance, the ambience captivating me. I forgot about everything else, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world to quietly listen only to her violin. Soon I realized she was playing a piece that I had heard before. It wasn't the same song that I heard her practicing before, but it was a piece I'd heard before. The name of it escaped me though. I'm completely green about classical music, but maybe she picked out a famous piece that she wanted to play just for me. Or maybe I'm delusional for thinking that. Though I'd be flattered if she really did choose this piece for me. I accidentally voiced my thoughts out loud. After the words had left my mouth, I felt more self-conscious. Because I was in love with her and wanted to tell her how I felt. As I sat there, images of myself confessing to Misaki played out in my head. What if she liked me too and was just waiting for me to confess? Yeah, right. I was on the verge of chickening out, so maybe I was trying to console myself with wishful thinking.
先輩、どうかしたの？
Misaki suddenly stopped playing and looked at me with a calm gaze. Huh? Did I do something weird? I felt guilty for making her stop her beautiful performance like that. Misaki cocked her head to the side as well.
そうじゃないけど、最初は聞き入ってくれてたのに、なんだか落ち着かない感じがしたから。
Really?
演奏してると、聞いてる人の感情が結構わかるのよね。やっぱりまだまだ特訓が必要ね。
I'd teased her a little bit before she started, but I tried not to bother her during her performance, so I was surprised when she put her arms down and stopped playing.
先輩、暇？
Bored? It's not like I have anything else to do.
そうじゃなくて、私の演奏をじっと聞いてるだけでしょ？だから、無理して聞いてて退屈になったり、飽きたりしてないかなって。
There was no confidence in her voice. One might say she sounded very uncertain about something. I scratched my cheek. Well, I can't deny that I've never been all that interested in classical music. But I like your playing, or rather, I like it because you're the one playing it, so I wasn't bored. In fact, I really enjoyed it. I showed her a big smile as the color rapidly rushed to her face. Then,
そうよね。私の演奏もなかなかのものでしょ。
she was back to her usual cheerful self. This seemed to be Misaki's flaw. She was so easily discouraged when things didn't go her way, and then able to regain her fighting spirit with just a few kind words.
よかった。じゃあ先輩、もうちょっと練習に付き合ってね。
With a serious expression, Misaki held up her violin once again. But she didn't start playing again right away.
それにしても、先輩って変な人ね。
Hey, was that called for?
私、沢渡の御曹司だからって先輩に変に絡んじゃうのに、今だってわざわざ練習を覗きに来てくれてるでしょ。物好きにも程があるわよ。
It's not just because I'm curious about your playing. I came because I wanted to see you.
さすがに2度目は驚かないわよ。もう騙されないから。
Whatever you say. I'd intended to be pretty straightforward with her today, but since I was always teasing her, she didn't believe me. Which meant now was the time. I wanted Misaki to know how I felt. I realized that my hand was unconsciously reaching for the pocket watch even before I began to speak. After all, just in case something went awry, I could undo it. I restrained my own impulses and took a deep breath. Misaki, is it alright if I tell you something serious?
何?
I like you, Misaki. Please go out with me. There was quite a long delay before Misaki first reacted. Please don't make me say it again. I was so embarrassed, I felt like I was losing my mind. My cheeks were burning up. There's no way I wasn't blushing at that moment. Despite the rapid stream of words coming out of her mouth, she took the time to carefully put her violin away. Then she was still terribly flustered as she came over to me, pointing her finger right in my face. Then I could say it a little more slowly. Oh, sorry about that. She stomped her feet as usual, but with the way her skirt was flaring up, if she didn't stop, she might just give me an inopportune sight. Is that a no? So that means... Could it really be? Misaki shoved a 5-fingered salute into my face, putting a damper on my rising hopes. What? Why not? Okay. Okay. Huh? What? Gah. Was that a goddamn no? All the blood rushed to my head from embarrassment, and I seriously felt like I was about to faint. Huh? But... Misaki was clearly flustered, and I wasn't thinking straight either. Christ, this is bad. My head's such a mess right now. The contest? Contest? My head was about to boil over when it was suddenly quenched by a word I hadn't expected to hear. Misaki looked like she had just remembered something important too. The tense atmosphere finally abated. Huh? Here? I didn't know. So the quote-unquote gymnasium they spent a fortune renovating was actually that. I wasn't big on live music, and something like that would probably be held on a weekend, so I really didn't hear a word of it before. So that's what it was. If she couldn't go out with me right now, she literally did mean right now. With this newfound knowledge of the predicament Misaki was in, I realized just how poor my timing had been. Sorry, I guess I picked a weird time to confess my feelings for you. crap! Misaki is way too cute when she blushes. Of course, this wasn't the first time I had ever seen her like this before. Yet somehow, her cuteness was on an entirely different level now.
今度のコンクールはね、結構自信があってバイオリンに集中したいの。いい結果を残したくて頑張って練習してて、だからね、すっごく自分勝手だし迷惑だろうけど、それが終わるまで返事待ってもらっていい？
Of course, it's not annoying at all. I'll be eagerly awaiting your answer. Oh, and good luck in the contest.
頑張る。
Misaki put her hand to her chest and nodded. I didn't receive a clear answer to my confession. She didn't reciprocate my feelings when I told her that I like her. She merely accepted them. That alone was enough to make me happy. This confession was completely different from all the times when I practiced confessing to girls, then undid it with a pocket watch. Thank you, Misaki.
何を突然。
I don't know exactly why, but I still wanted to thank you.
そうなの？まあ、どういたしまして。でも言っておくけど、まだ付き合ってるわけじゃないんだからね。調子に乗るんじゃないわよ。
Yeah, I know. We are not going out yet.
何ニヤニヤ笑ってるのよ。
You are too. Misaki jumped up in surprise, and then she turned her back on me to regain her composure. Even that mannerism slayed me. Yeah, I've totally fallen for her. I'm beyond all hope, though that phrase sounds a little too pessimistic. Anyway, I don't want to get in the way of your practice, so I'll be going home.
いや、帰っちゃダメ。
Okay. She yanked on the sleeve of my jacket with surprising force, shoving me back down into my seat.
違う、そういう意味じゃ、そうでもなくて、人がいると練習になるし、コンクールも観客がたくさんだから、いい結果出したいから。だから先輩には私のそばにいてほしいの。他の人じゃダメなの。先輩じゃないとダメなんだから。
All right. I smiled and pulled Misaki's fingers off of my jacket, being careful not to hurt her as I did so. Misaki sounded really sad when I forced her to release her grip on my jacket. I pointed at her violin case in order to reassure her. In that case, you better get started practicing.
そうね。
Misaki flashed a gleeful, sunflowery smile and then took her violin back into her hands.
見てなさい。今度こそ一番になってやるんだから。
She started playing. The end result was surprising. Misaki's performance was actually quite terrible. She definitely had the motivation, but she was constantly looking at me out of the corner of her eye while she was playing, and her concentration was shot. Her overall playing was pretty off-key, and she missed a lot of notes. All those mistakes just put more pressure on her, and in the end, she wasn't able to regain her composure until evening. It was supposed to be a day for us to celebrate, but on the way home, Misaki was full of despair. I could see why. I didn't have any words of encouragement for her. The second half of her performance wasn't something that I could compliment even if I tried. Or rather, if I tried to compliment her, it would just sound sarcastic. I was at an impasse. Our relationship had progressed to something where us actually going out was a very distinct possibility, but somehow it didn't feel very satisfying. Misaki had her head in her hands. If she likes me too, then I wish we could do something romantic, like walking home together while holding hands. I recalled how Miu said something like that to me once. But in this situation, I hesitated to even hold her hand. Then Misaki stopped walking.
じゃあ先輩、今日はこの辺りで別れましょう。
Weren't we going to walk to the monorail station together?
私はちょっと歩いて頭を冷やして帰るわ。
Then I'll come with.
いいの。
Her voice was very calm, but her words were forceful enough that I couldn't say anything else.
ごめんなさい。一人になりたいから。
I see. Of course, I couldn't force her.
今日は付き合わせて悪か。そういう付き合いじゃないからね。まだよ。
Hey, no need to be pedantic. It's not a big deal.
私に告白したのは先輩じゃない。
So I was. Whatever. I was happy to see that she was acting like her usual self again, so I didn't crack a joke at her expense this time.
じゃあ先輩、今日は私のせいで帰りが遅くなっちゃったから、家に着いたらメールしなさいよ。先輩に何かあったら心配じゃなくて、みちるにも悪いし。
I ought to be worried about you getting home safe on your own too. You are a girl after all.
だったら私が無事かどうかちゃんと確認しなさいよ。
Alright.
とにかくちゃんとメールするのよ。一通だけ送っておしまいとかもダメよ。
I don't mind talking more after that, but why?
先輩が告白したんだから、今まで以上に私のことを大事にしなくちゃダメなの。
So that's what she meant. We weren't dating just yet, but she still wanted to talk with me to deepen our relationship. Of course, gladly.
喜ぶの？そんなこと言ったらいっぱいメール送るわよ。
I'm always glad to get messages from you. Why wouldn't I want to talk to the girl that I like?
そうなんだ。それなら、私も。
Misaki's face turned red, and it certainly wasn't just from the evening sunlight. I mean, today was the sort of day where that would happen a lot. For now, things were just fine. The day had its ups and downs, but I was starting to feel comfortable with Misaki again by the end of it. Then night came. Next time on Chrono Clock. So, looks like we're doing Misaki's route first, huh? Well, I don't mind. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone, and have a nice day. Bye bye.